Welcome, I'm Kinetic Symphony. This is Dave. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the supernatural. Case file number 1975, written by UndefinedSpoon. The Midnight Dog and a Trucker's Blog. Both occurred when I used to be a truck driver in 2012 to 2013. I was 23 at the time. First story. Once I was at a truck stop, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. I parked my truck, and as I'm waiting by the trucks fueling up, I see a guy with a purple truck who doesn't quite look right, sort of stumbling. I ask him if he's okay. He sort of slowly stares at me, then just falls down. At that exact moment, his truck just shuts off. I run over to him, and he's out cold. Other drivers come over, and one of them knows a lot more about this sort of stuff. He says his heart stopped, so he starts doing compressions. Someone calls 911. The ambulance gets there and tries to bring him back, but can't. They call and get authorization or whatever to call time of death. I asked the workers if they wanted me to move his truck to a parking lot, and they said sure. I see he has a little dog in the passenger seat. I hand him off to a worker. As I do so, this really creepy feeling comes over me. I've seen death several times, far more graphic and gory than some old guy falling over from a heart attack, but I feel like someone was in the cab with me. Freaked me the hell out. I try to crank the truck, but it will not start. There's about a half a tank at least. When the guy first collapsed, the first thing someone did was cut the fuel pump off and put it back into the fuel pump, because he sort of fell almost under the plumbing fuel filler, automatically shutting off the passenger side pump. Trucks fill up from both sides, meaning the fuel was pumping maybe a minute or two, so it had gotten, I'd guess, about 10 to 20 gallons. So the truck did not run out of fuel. It was as if the truck died when he died. I could not get the damn thing to fire. Didn't even try to just fire, just cranked and cranked. I could see if the truck had cooled down, but it was still very warm, and a warm truck is easy to start. This was also in the summertime. I'm sure there's a logical reason here. Just sort of freaked me out that the truck died at the exact moment its owner died. Told them it wouldn't crank, call a tow truck, and I got the hell out of there. Second story. I normally don't drive at night, and never late at night. It was wintertime, but no snow or anything, probably around 8 or 9 p.m. So it had been dark since around 6 or 7. And I'm driving along on a fairly straight stretch of road somewhere in Oklahoma. Visibility was pretty good, and I could see pretty far ahead of me. All of a sudden, I see what looks like a black dog jump from somewhere off the right, across the left lane, then dart back in front of me in the right lane. It looked like a big dog, maybe a Great Dane. Actually reminded me of the Batman dog from Batman the Animated Series, but moved like a panther or something abnormally quick. When it darted back in front, I braced myself. You are taught never to swerve for an animal or even another car, to just simply apply the brakes and ram whatever the obstacle is, as ramming a car is better than flipping over and crushing a car. 80,000-pound load. I didn't have time to brake, but I hit whatever it was hard. The front hood appears to flip up, blocking the windshield for a moment, and flip back down. Keep in mind, truck hoods are hinged at the front and flip forward like a 94 Corvette. I heard the distinct sound of the glass turntable in my microwave slam and rattle around from the impact. At this moment, I figured it must have been a bear of some kind. And a dog isn't going to crush my front end like it seemed to do. The impact has slowed me down a bit, but my first thought is if it was a bear, there may be more. So I keep speed. The hood seems stable. The steering feels fine. So I don't think there's steering or suspension damage. The lights are still somehow working, and all my gauges are showing fine, so I throw on the hazards, keep moving around 30 miles an hour, and keep my eyes glued to the temperature and air pressure gauges. I figure if I'm leaking coolant, I have like 20 gallons in the system before I run out. I get on the CB and yell out that I think I just smashed into a literal black bear on the highway. Saying a bear on the CB usually means a cop, so you should specify a literal black bear, and to watch out for either more or its dead body on the highway. One guy says he had just seen a black dog and he almost ran off the road. I told him that's what I just hit, but it blew apart my front end. I think it was either a really fast bear or maybe a panther or mountain lion. The next truck stop is about 5 miles away. I make it there, pull into the pumps, and assess the damage. Nothing. There is not a scratch anywhere on this truck. I smashed into whatever the hell the thing was. I heard the massive impact, the crunching of the hood on the front end. I saw the front end of my hood very distinctly fly up and back down. The hood was completely intact. The intercooler and radiator had no damage. I had hit nothing. I went over my hours by 2 hours to get the hell out of that state, and as far as I could, into Texas. Later, I found on the internet about an old trucker legend about the black dog jumping out in front of the drivers, causing them to swerve off the road to avoid it. Maybe it knew I wasn't going to swerve and tried to take me out another way. Case notes from 1975, The Midnight Dog, and a trucker's blog. So I looked it up and there's a few points. First, black dogs are said to bring about an omen of death. It's actually found in Harry Potter too. But it's just funny how that mythos can spread around in so many different formats and even infiltrate into our art. But also it's known as the black shuck in the UK, which I found it interesting that even across the pond, people have the same experiences. So the idea that it's pure hallucination doesn't seem likely to me, because why would people hallucinate the same thing? That's not a hallucination. That is seeing beyond the pale. That is seeing beyond what we're normally allowed to. Maybe that does involve being tired. Maybe when you're tired, different pathways open up in your mind. But then was the entire accident of hitting this dog or bear or whatever it ended up being truly just in your mind? The way hallucinations work. After the fact, you tend to know that they're hallucinations. There's obvious signs. If there's no signs to you, then I think it might have been quantum immortality, where you saw this omen of death, and then you actually did die. But in the process, the damage to your truck did happen in the original universe, where maybe the front hood did flip so fast up into the actual driving compartment and cause issues for you. I could see that being the case. But now the first story. Is it a glitch? Who's to say? Is it just a coincidence? A very, very unlikely coincidence. But if it was a glitch, what could it be? What would cause man and machine to become tethered to that extent? Where if the owner dies, the truck dies as well. I wonder what was physically wrong with the truck to cause it to not start. I'm sure they inspected it after the fact and there was something wrong. It wasn't just that it was perfect and yet wouldn't start. Or if that is the case, then something had to be physically blocking it. I don't know much about trucks or cars, but there's so many moving parts, it wouldn't be hard to disrupt it if you wanted to. And you could get in there, like a spirit. Maybe for some reason after the man died, he stopped his own truck, just didn't want anyone else to drive it. Sentimental reasons, I guess. Now time for the joke of the day. Putin dies and goes to hell. After a while, he's given a day off for good behavior. So he goes to Moscow, enters a bar, orders a drink and asks the bartender, "Is Crimea ours?" "Yes, it is." "And the Donbass?" "Also ours." "Kiev?" "We got that too." Satisfied, he drinks and asks, "Thanks, how much do I owe you?" €5. Well, they got it all right. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.